First contact gone wrong. Ambassador Diana Harrison stood at the United Nations podium, her hands trembling despite her decades of diplomatic experience. The holographic projections behind her showed what no one could have imagined: massive research facilities floating in deep space, filled with Earth's missing children. For the past 30 years, she began, her voice steady despite her rage, the Zephyrian Collective has been systematically abducting human children for what they call developmental research. Today, we have proof. The assembly erupted in chaos as the footage played. Hundreds of children, from toddlers to teenagers, housed in what the aliens called observation habitats. Some played with strange toys, others underwent what appeared to be behavioral tests, all under the constant watch of tall, silver-skinned beings with multiple sets of eyes. The discovery had come through Thomas Reed, a maintenance worker at the Atacama Large Millimeter Array in Chile. He'd picked up unusual signals, what seemed like human television frequencies, but coming from well beyond Mars. When the signals were decoded, they revealed the unthinkable: broadcast feeds from the alien research station, meant for their scientific community. The Zephyrians hadn't even tried to hide it. To them, studying pre-contact species was standard protocol. They saw nothing wrong with collecting specimens from developing worlds for observation. Their research papers, now translated, spoke clinically about human childhood development patterns, adaptation rates, and behavioral responses to isolation. In orbit above Earth, the Zephyrian diplomatic vessel waited. They had arrived openly once their research stations were discovered, expecting to discuss their findings and perhaps establish formal relations. They hadn't expected the rage, the horror, the global demand for immediate action. "We have identified over 300 children in their facilities," Diana continued, her voice catching. "Some have been there for decades. Some were taken so young they may not even remember Earth." She paused, touching the screen of her tablet where a list of names scrolled endlessly. The youngest confirmed subject is 3 years old. In the back of the assembly hall, General Marcus Blackwood of the newly formed Earth Defense Force received the message he'd been waiting for. The experimental fleet was ready. Humanity had been developing space warfare capability in secret since the first hints of alien presence decades ago. Now, those preparations would face their ultimate test. The Zephyrian ambassador, Zelvorth, appeared on the UN's communications screen, its multiple eyes blinking in what their xenologists interpreted as confusion. "We do not understand your distress," it stated. "Our research methods are impeccable. The specimens are well cared for, educated, and protected. We have gathered invaluable data on human cognitive development." Diana's knuckles went white as she gripped the podium. "They are not specimens," she said, each word carefully measured. "They are our children. Return them immediately, or face the consequences." Zelvortha's eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of dismissal. "Your species has barely achieved solar system travel. You have no means to enforce such demands. We suggest you focus on the benefits our research could provide to your understanding of human development." In orbit, General Blackwood gave the order. Across the globe, hidden launch facilities activated. The experimental fleet, built from reverse-engineered technology gathered from decades of studying alien debris in signals, emerged from underground bases and underwater hangars. In the research facility, 12-year-old Lily Chen, taken 5 years ago from a playground in Singapore, pressed her hand against the transparent wall of her habitat. She watched the silver-skinned researchers hurrying past, their movements more agitated than usual. Something was different today. Next to her habitat, 14-year-old James O'Connor, who hadn't seen Ireland since he was 4, had rigged a way to access their observation facility's data streams using skills he'd learned in captivity. "They're scared," he whispered to Lily through their secretly developed tap code. "Something's happening back home." The children across the facility began spreading the word through their hidden communication network, a system of gestures, taps, and signals developed over years of captivity. Earth hadn't forgotten them. Earth had found them. And Earth was coming. In New York, Diana delivered humanity's final warning: you took our children, thinking us too primitive to stop you. You studied human development but failed to understand the most basic fact about our species: there is nothing in this universe more dangerous than a human protecting their young. Return our children within 24 hours, or learn this lesson the hard way. As she spoke, the first wave of Earth's hidden fleet broke atmosphere, their hulls gleaming with technology the Zephyrians had never imagined humans could possess. Humanity's first interstellar war was about to begin, and the galaxy was about to learn why you never, ever, take a human child. The diplomatic storm. The Galactic Council chamber was a vast amphitheater of crystalline architecture, hosting representatives from over 1,000 civilizations. Today, it was in an uproar. The emergency session had been called after Earth's fleet emerged, revealing technology that should have been centuries beyond human capability. Ambassador Diana Harrison stood before the assembly, her holographic projection towering above the gathered representatives. Behind her, footage from the research facilities played in an endless loop: children in observation chambers, medical tests, behavioral studies. The evidence was damning. The Zephyrian Collective claims these abductions were legal under Article 7 of the Pre-Contact Species Research Protocol. Diana's voice cut through the chamber's chaos. Let me be clear, any law that permits the kidnapping of children is no law at all. In the highest tier of the chamber, the Council of Elders watched with growing concern. The 9 ancient species that guided galactic civilization had seen countless first contact scenarios, but nothing like this. Humanity wasn't following any of the expected patterns for a developing civilization. Elder Koth, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline form, addressed the chamber. The technology displayed by Earth's fleet suggests external interference. Someone has been providing humans with advanced knowledge, in violation of quarantine protocols. Diana smiled, a gesture that made several alien species uncomfortable with its predatory undertones. No one helped us, Elder Koth. Every ship in that fleet was built by human hands, designed by human minds, powered by human determination. We took your scattered scraps, your discarded signals, your crashed scouts that you didn't bother to recover because we were too primitive to understand them. We learned. We adapted. We prepared. In the research facility, the children were far from passive. James O'Connor had spent 10 years learning the facility systems, sharing his knowledge through the children's secret network. Now, as the facility's security protocols tightened, he saw their opportunity. They're distracted, he tapped out to the others. Most of the researchers are watching the council session. Security systems are running on automated protocols. Lily Chen, who had become their master of improvised tools, began distributing the devices they'd spent years crafting from seemingly innocent materials. The aliens had never understood why humans gave their children toys, viewing play as a wasteful activity. They hadn't realized these primitive beings were teaching their young to create, to improvise, to overcome. In Earth orbit, General Blackwood received the coded transmission from the children. His tactical officers stared in amazement at the detailed internal schematics of the research facility, mapped out through years of patient observation by kids who never stopped fighting, never stopped planning. The Zephyrian ambassador, Zelvorth, was still trying to maintain control of the situation. The human vessels are clearly equipped with weaponry. This aggressive response proves why specimen collection must be done before contact. Their violent tendencies. Choose your next words carefully, Diana interrupted, her voice arctic. Those specimens you're dismissing? One of them is my niece. Teresa Harrison, taken from London 8 years ago. I watched my sister and brother-in-law die of broken hearts, never knowing what happened to their only child. The chamber fell silent. Many species had different concepts of family, but the raw emotion in the human's voice transcended biological barriers. Diana continued, pulling up images of the children, but not the sterile research footage. These were photos from Earth, birthday parties, school plays, family picnics. Lives interrupted. You thought we were primitive because we haven't spread to other stars. You never asked why we focused our technology inward instead of outward. Everything we built, every advance we made, was to protect our children. Our medical technology, our cybernetics, our AI systems, all designed to keep the next generation safe. In the research facility, alarms began to sound. The children had begun their move, using years of gathered intelligence and improvised tools to access restricted systems. The aliens had made a crucial mistake: they had given human children time to learn, to plan, to prepare. Back in the council chamber, Diana delivered humanity's terms: you have 12 hours left to return our children. After that, we will recover them ourselves. And then, the Zephyrian Collective will learn the true meaning of research. We will study every aspect of your civilization, not to understand it, but to dismantle it. Not for science, but for justice. The Council of Elders convened an emergency session. The humans' fleet shouldn't have been possible. Their coordination with their captured young shouldn't have been achievable. Everything about this species defied established models of civilization development. As the diplomatic crisis reached its peak, humanity's children were already fighting back. In the observation habitats, years of preparation were about to pay off. The galaxy was about to learn another fundamental truth about humans: their ability to resist, to fight, to overcome began in childhood. Elder Koth issued an urgent warning to the chamber: the humans aren't just protecting their young. They're working with them. The children are not passive victims, they're active participants in what's coming. We've never seen anything like this. The clock was ticking. In 12 hours, humanity would show the galaxy why taking their children was the last mistake the Zephyrian Collective would ever make. Operation Star Cradle. The research facility's alarms blared as James O'Connor executed the first phase of their plan. 10 years of captivity had taught the children patience. They had mapped every ventilation shaft, noted every security patrol, and memorized every researcher's routine. Now, that knowledge would buy Earth's fleet the time it needed. Systems compromised in Sector 7, the facility's AI announced in its melodic alien language. James smiled. He'd learned that language years ago, listening through the habitat walls. The researchers had never considered that their subjects might understand them. Lily Chen led the younger children in implementing their part of the plan. The seemingly innocent drawings decorating their habitats contained hidden markings, maps, patrol schedules, and access codes decoded from years of observation. Remember, she signaled through their tap code, just like we practiced. In Earth's lead vessel, the Prometheus, General Blackwood watched the tactical display with pride. The children's coordinated disruption was creating exactly the chaos they needed. The Zephyrian defense grid was struggling to maintain coherent scans with so many internal systems going haywire. All ships, execute Operation Star Cradle, he ordered. The fleet split into 3 groups, each deploying technology that had been specifically designed for this moment. Humanity had spent decades preparing for space warfare, but always with one primary goal: bringing their children home. The first wave launched what appeared to be standard missiles. The Zephyrian defenses easily intercepted them, but that was the point. Each explosion released clouds of specialized nanites, another human innovation born from studying alien debris. The microscopic machines began infiltrating the facility's external sensors, creating ghost signals and false readings. In the Galactic Council chamber, Ambassador Diana Harrison watched the battle unfold. The Zephyrian representatives were becoming increasingly agitated as their supposedly superior defenses proved ineffective against human ingenuity. "This is your final chance," Diana announced. "Return our children, or witness firsthand why humanity chose to perfect defensive technology before reaching for the stars. We had to protect them from you before we could begin exploring." Inside the facility, 6-year-old Nina Patel played her part perfectly. She'd been the newest arrival, taken just months ago. The researchers thought her constant crying was due to trauma. They never realized she was covering the sound of older children working in the ventilation shafts behind her habitat. James coordinated the facility-wide disruption from his habitat, using a computer system built from scrapped entertainment devices the aliens had provided. Sector 12 security protocols disabled, he transmitted to the other children. "Lily, you're up." Lily had spent years hoarding materials from their enrichment activities, creating tools the aliens never imagined possible. Now, she used them to short out the habitat force fields, one section at a time. The researchers had never understood human children's drive to take things apart and rebuild them. The second wave of Earth's fleet launched their special weapons, pods containing combat androids. Another human innovation, born from the need to protect their young. The machines were immune to the facility's life support attacks and could operate in any environment. Multiple hull breaches detected, the facility's AI announced. Unknown synthetic entities have penetrated defense perimeter. The Zephyrian chief researcher, Valner, finally realized the true extent of their miscalculation. They had studied human children as isolated specimens, never understanding that every human child carried within them the potential for resistance, for innovation, for survival. In the council chamber, the elder beings watched in astonishment as humanity's true technological level became apparent. They hadn't built starships because they were focused on defensive technology. Every innovation, every breakthrough, had been driven by the need to protect their young. The third wave of Earth's fleet moved into position. These ships carried the human assault teams, parents, relatives, and volunteers who had trained for years for this moment. Their ships were equipped with cutting-edge medical facilities, trauma specialists, and child psychologists. Humanity hadn't just prepared for war, they'd prepared for rescue and recovery. James activated the final phase of the children's plan. Throughout the facility, every screen, every communication device, began broadcasting the same message in the Zephyrian language: "We are not your specimens. We are human children. And our parents are coming." The androids breached the main research center, their programming focused on protecting the children while neutralizing any resistance. They moved with precision, disabling security systems and restraining researchers with non-lethal efficiency. Humanity had chosen mercy, but not out of weakness. Lily led the younger children in their rehearsed evacuation procedures. Years of mock games had prepared them for this moment. The researchers had thought they were observing simple play behavior, never realizing the children were practicing for their eventual rescue. General Blackwood's voice echoed through the facility's communication systems: "This is Earth Defense Force. All research personnel, stand down. We are here for our children. Resistance will not be tolerated, but cooperation will be remembered." The Zephyrian researchers, faced with the combined resistance of their subjects and the unexpected technological prowess of humanity, began surrendering. They had thought they were studying a primitive species. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. As the rescue teams breached the facility, they found the children already organized, helping the youngest, keeping precise counts, maintaining order. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons, it was their ability to pass their determination, their resilience, and their ingenuity to the next generation. The children's legacy. The Galactic Council's emergency session entered its third day as representatives struggled to process the implications of what had become known as the Terra Protocol. Footage of the rescue operation played on endless loops throughout civilized space, human children leading their own resistance, working in perfect coordination with Earth's military forces, displaying levels of adaptation and ingenuity that defied all known developmental models. Ambassador Diana Harrison stood before the council again, but this time she wasn't alone. Behind her stood James O'Connor, Lily Chen, and a dozen other rescued children, their presence forcing the galaxy to confront the individuals behind the statistics. For decades, you viewed our children as research subjects, Diana began, her voice carrying across the hushed chamber. Today, they will speak for themselves. James stepped forward, his voice steady despite his years of captivity. You thought you were studying us, but we were learning about you. Every test, every observation session, every piece of technology you exposed us to, we turned it all into knowledge we could use. The Zephyrian representatives shifted uncomfortably as James displayed the complex communication network the children had developed, the technical specifications they had memorized, the security weaknesses they had mapped. What the aliens had dismissed as simple play patterns had been systematic intelligence gathering. In the medical wing of Earth's flagship, Nina Patel reunited with her parents, who had never given up hope during her months of captivity. The ship's psychologists documented everything, building a comprehensive understanding of how the children had not only survived but thrived through their ordeal. Lily Chen addressed the council next, demonstrating the improvised tools and technologies the children had created from their enrichment materials. The aliens had provided puzzles and construction toys, never realizing they were giving human children the resources to engineer their own resistance. We turned your research facility into our training ground, Lily explained, her voice carrying the weight of her experiences. Every game we played was practice. Every toy we built was a tool. Every skill we learned was preparation for this day. In orbit around Earth, the captured research facility was being transformed. General Blackwood had overseen its conversion into humanity's first deep space monitoring station, using the very technology that had once imprisoned their children. The structure's original purpose would never be forgotten, it would stand as both a memorial and a warning. The Council of Elders convened a special session to address the unprecedented situation. Elder Koth spoke first. We must acknowledge that our understanding of species development requires complete revision. The humans have demonstrated capabilities that transcend our traditional metrics of civilization advancement. Diana presented Earth's terms for continued galactic interaction. We will share our technologies, our medical advances, our adaptive AI systems, our defensive innovations. In exchange, the Galactic Council will implement the Terra Protocol. The Terra Protocol, drafted by the rescued children themselves, established new laws for interaction with developing civilizations. At its core was a simple truth: the way a species treats its young would now be the primary measure of its civilization's advancement. James and Lily had been instrumental in drafting the protocol, incorporating lessons learned from their captivity. Their unique perspective, children who had grown up studying their captors while being studied, provided insights that would reshape galactic society. You took us because you thought we were specimens of a primitive species, James addressed the council. Instead, we became the bridge between Earth and the stars. Every child you took became a student of your civilization, learning your languages, your technologies, your weaknesses. The Zephyrian Collective faced severe sanctions, their research methodologies now classified as crimes against sentience. But humanity, led by the very children they had tried to study, chose rehabilitation over retribution. The former research facilities would become cultural exchange centers, where young beings from across the galaxy could learn from each other as equals. In the medical bay of the Prometheus, Dr. Rebecca Morrison documented an unexpected phenomenon. The rescued children were displaying unprecedented levels of cognitive development and adaptive capability. Their captivity, meant to study human potential, had inadvertently created a generation of human children with intimate knowledge of advanced alien technologies and cultures. We're not victims, Lily told the council, we're pioneers. Every child in those facilities became an expert in alien psychology, technology, and culture. We had to survive. Now, we'll use that knowledge to make sure no other children ever experience what we did. The implications were staggering. Humanity had entered the galactic stage not through traditional first contact, but through the resistance and triumph of their captured children. These children, once meant to be mere research subjects, were now the most knowledgeable humans about alien civilizations. Diana concluded the session with an announcement that sent ripples through galactic society. Earth is establishing the Interstellar Children's Rights Commission, led by the survivors of the research facilities. Its first task will be implementing the Terra Protocol across all known space. The galaxy will learn that protecting the young isn't just a human trait, it's the cornerstone of true civilization. As the council session ended, James and Lily looked out at the star-filled viewport. They had entered the facility as prisoners, emerged as leaders, and would now help shape the future of human-alien relations. Their legacy would ensure that the galaxy's children, human and alien alike, would grow up in a universe that recognized their worth not as research subjects, but as the future of all civilizations. A new dawn. 5 years after the rescue operation, the transformed research facility hung in space like a gleaming beacon. Now known as the Stellar Academy for Young Diplomats, its halls echoed with the voices of children from 100 different worlds. At its heart stood a memorial, a holographic display of every human child once held captive there, their stories preserved as a reminder of how humanity changed the galaxy. James O'Connor, now 20, walked through the Academy's main concourse. Alien children of various species scurried past, some floating, others rolling, all of them free to learn and grow together. He paused at one of the teaching chambers where Lily Chen was conducting a class on cross-species communication. The key to understanding each other, Lily explained to her diverse group of students, isn't just in the words we use, but in recognizing that every species' children have the same fundamental right to grow, learn, and be protected. In Earth's new embassy to the Galactic Council, Ambassador Diana Harrison reviewed the latest reports from the Interstellar Children's Rights Commission. The Terra Protocol had been adopted by over 800 civilizations, fundamentally changing how developing species were approached and studied. The Zephyrian Collective had undergone its own transformation. Under the guidance of the very children they had once imprisoned, they had redirected their research expertise toward ethical cultural exchange programs. Their former chief researcher, Val Nur, now worked alongside human scientists, documenting how their misguided actions had inadvertently created a generation of human children uniquely qualified to bridge the gap between species. General Blackwood, his hair now more gray than black, stood in the Academy's observation deck with Dr. Rebecca Morrison. They watched Earth's second-generation ships patrol the sector, vessels designed with input from the former captives, incorporating both human innovation and the lessons learned from alien technology. The children's cognitive development studies are revolutionary, Dr. Morrison shared, displaying her latest findings. Their forced adaptation to alien environments enhanced their problem-solving abilities in ways we're only beginning to understand. They're teaching us how to prepare the next generation for a truly interstellar society. In the Academy's central garden, Nina Patel, now 11, taught younger alien students about human games. What had once been a secret resistance code among captive children had evolved into a universal language of play, breaking down barriers between species that centuries of traditional diplomacy had failed to breach. The Council of Elders had been reformed, with humanity granted a permanent seat. Their representative was a rotating position, always filled by one of the former captives. Today, it was James's turn to address the galaxy's leaders. 5 years ago, we showed you humanity's strength, he began, his voice carrying the weight of experience. Today, we want to show you humanity's wisdom. The Terra Protocol isn't just about protecting children, it's about recognizing that every young life, regardless of species, holds the potential to change the universe. Lily had developed the Academy's core curriculum based on her experiences. Our captivity taught us that understanding comes from immersion, she explained to a group of visiting dignitaries. Every student here lives alongside species they might once have considered alien or strange. They learn each other's languages, cultures, and ways of thinking naturally, through daily interaction. The former research data, once a source of shame for the Zephyrian Collective, had been transformed. Under the guidance of human and alien ethicists, it became a foundation for understanding how children of different species could learn from each other. The very knowledge gathered through unethical means was now being used to prevent such ethics violations from ever happening again. Diana stood before the council one last time before her retirement. 5 years ago, we came to you as an angry species demanding justice for our children. Today, we come as partners in ensuring that no child, human or alien, ever faces what our children endured. Their captivity was meant to study human development. Instead, it became the catalyst for galactic development. In the Academy's Memorial Hall, James and Lily often spent quiet moments with the newest arrivals, both human and alien, sharing their story. The horror of their captivity had been transformed into a powerful lesson about resilience, adaptation, and the universal bond between all young beings. They thought they were studying human children, James would tell the young ones, but they ended up learning about themselves. Every species in this galaxy starts with the same precious resource, their young. How we protect them, teach them, and learn from them determines not just our future, but the future of all civilizations. The galaxy had changed. The Terra Protocol wasn't just a set of laws, it had become a philosophy. Species that once saw each other as subjects for study now saw potential friends and allies. The children who had once been captives were now teachers, diplomats, and leaders, their unique perspective shaping the future of interstellar relations. As the sun set on another day at the Academy, Lily watched her students leave class, human children walking alongside young aliens, all of them growing up in a galaxy that had learned its lesson. The observation habitats that had once been their prisons were now classrooms where the next generation learned to bridge the gaps between worlds. They took us to study human nature, she reflected, sharing a quiet moment with James in their old habitat, now a historical preservation site. In the end, we taught them that the true measure of any civilization isn't its technology or its power, but its capacity to learn from its mistakes and grow beyond them. The stars shone brighter that night, as they always did when viewed from the Academy. Somewhere out there, other young civilizations were reaching for the stars. But thanks to the legacy of Earth's stolen children, they would be met not with clinical observation, but with open hands and understanding hearts. The galaxy had learned that the future belonged not to those who would cage children to study them, but to those who would set them free to teach us all.